All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Sorry about my voice. I'm dealing with a cold, and it's kind of all in my throat. So, my throat's a little scratchy, deeper voice, but it's not in my sinuses, so I feel good enough to do a painting today. And I've been wanting to do this tiger painting for quite some time. I mentioned it back in November on a previous video. And so here we are in March, and I guess time to do the tiger painting. So what you see here is the drawing. And I just did this with pencil. Just basically just a number 2 pencil, I guess, or whatever. There's a little bit of charcoal in here too, just to kind of smear some of the stripes. And so that is the drawing. That's what we're gonna start here. And I took my time with this. I used that proportional divider to help me scale it. And so if you're new and you didn't see my snow leopard video, I talk about the proportional divider on my snow leopard video and how I use it. So I'll show you the reference photo. There it is. Great photo, by the way. Nice and clear. And basically what you do is you want to scale your reference to your painting. Basically you use something called a proportional divider. And so I'll show you kind of how, in general, how that works. So if I take the 2 points here, and you see there's there's 2 sides of this. There's kind of the smaller one and the larger side over here, and you can change that by this focal point right here. You can slide this back and forth, and you can scale it however big you want it to go. But for example, if I go here between the corners of the eyes, and then I go to my reference and I flip it, you can see how that matches up. Same thing, you can kind of, and you make little marks there, and then you kind of draw in between. Here's between the ears, where the ears kind of meet the head, and then up here you can see how that lines up. So basically you're taking points here, you line them up, and then you flip it to the larger size to scale it up to a larger piece. So this is a 14 by 17 paper. This is Bristol Smooth Paper. Okay, and for you who's not familiar with Bristol Smooth, you're watching me for the first time, this is what the Bristol Smooth looks like. 14 by 17, great thick paper, 100 weight. It says it's not suited for oil pastels, but I've kind of proven that wrong. I've done several paintings on this, and I really like the smooth surface. So that's what we're working on here for this painting. And like I said, I went ahead and did the just a real rough draft drawing. You can see up close marks here. I kind of scribbled around, make points, connect the points, try to find where the stripes are for the tiger, the teeth, the nose, the muzzle area, the eyes, right? This is where you get likeness, right here with the eyes. The relationship between the eyes and the nose and mouth, that's kind of where likeness happens. Okay. And then after that, so after I did the drawing, then I sprayed it with a workable fixative, and I used this krylon workable fixative, which is great. And when you do that, it prevents it from smearing. So I can now rub my hands across, and the lead, the graphite, the charcoal, whatever you're using, won't come up on your finger, so it won't smear. And that's very important. I don't want that to smear in with my oil pastels. Okay. And also, when you apply a workable fixative like this one here, it adds a bit of a grit feeling to the surface, so it's not so smooth now. The paper feels like a very, very light kind of sandpapery feel. It's kind of gritty, which is good. That'll help with getting some texture, getting some layers going. Okay, and I am using my chest harness today, and I'll be using this chest harness for this whole tutorial. So I have the iPhone attached to my chest harness, so you get like this first person point of view from it. You can see my hands in motion. You'll be able to see the pastel up close as I am working on this painting. The only issues with this is movement. So when I move my body, the camera moves. And so I'm going to try to be very careful. Try not to move around so much. Sometimes I forget that I am filming, and then I tend to move around too much, and I'll try not to sway because I am standing here. I like to stand while I paint. I think it's better for me rather than sitting. My back doesn't hurt. If I sit too long, my back starts to hurt after a while, so I just prefer stand, and I can move around. And then we're going to use my full set of oil pastels here. So in here there's about 5 brands. I have my craypas expressionist up in this section. I have a mix of Mungios, Neo Pastels, Sennelier, and Van Goghs, and the rest of my colors here. Okay, so it does help to have multiple brands. Not gonna lie, one of the reasons the way it helps is I have more color choices, and I have different consistencies of oil pastel. I have some oil pastels like these craypas that lean harder consistency, and then the very soft Sennelier oil pastels, which is very soft, very creamy, and so that consistency does help to have those differences. So if I'm using one brand, it would be a little harder to pull this off. All right, so what I like to do is, we got the drawing here, I got the fixative on it. What I like to do is start with coloring it, and I usually choose 1 or 2 colors. But for this one, since the tiger is kind of this orange, different variations of orange and golds and white or light grays, it's kind of hard to choose one color for all that. So what I have is the gray. This is a craypas expressionist, so I have just a regular gray, a brown, and then this one, which is also called a brown. You can see the difference between these two. This is more like a rusty reddish brown. Obviously this is just a regular brown, and I think between these 3 we'll kind of put in that first layer. Okay, and I like to go with a craypas expressionist to start off with because they're harder consistency, and I can get those first layers of just covering the paper, coloring up the tiger, use a harder consistency, and then we go softer from there. Okay, so I had to take a little break. I am dealing with a cold. It started coming on yesterday. My voice is starting to be affected by it, so I'm drinking some water and stuff like that. So I'll probably take a lot more breaks to get through this, but it's not in my sinuses, so as long as it's not in my sinuses, I feel pretty good actually. Okay, let's just start here. So looking at my reference, I have the reference here. I'm kind of looking at where the base of the oranges are. You can see like in the body of the tiger, definitely the face, muzzle area, and just kind of all around. You can see where this color would sit. And this is just to start off with. This is just to cover the paper up. So I'm just going to take this craypas and just start covering the white of the paper. And with the papers off, it's real easy to cover large areas. Okay. And you can see the graphite, the drawing underneath is still present, still there. All right, so all this down here is just this orange here on the tiger. All right, so we'll just use that for this area right here. And you see even on a smooth surface like this Bristol Smooth, you can see the color does come off very nicely. Has a bit of texture because of that workable fixative, and then you can see how easy it is to spread this. I don't think I'll need to go to my turpenoid. So on my snow leopard painting, my tutorial, if you watch that, I used turp to spread it out. And I was using a different paper, but this is turpenoid, and I just use a brush to spread it out. But with the Bristol Smooth, since it's so easy, it's a smooth surface, I don't need to use a turp. I can just really easily just take my finger, my thumb, or stump, whatever, and just spread the color out very easily like this. Okay, and maybe we'll put a little bit of brown. Like I notice in the nose area here, it's kind of a darker orange, so maybe a brown would be a good base for that, and then I can build the oranges on top. And I think it's easier to start darker than what your reference says, so just start a couple of shades darker. Even a brown like this will be fine, and then you can always lighten up as you're adding more and more layers. Okay, so I'm kind of following here. You know, there's a lot of white in the face, so I'm not gonna, where it's white, which is kind of around the eyes and kind of in the cheek down here, I won't use the brown. Instead we'll use the gray here. Okay, so try to keep this part of your painting just try to simplify it, and so just choose a couple colors, maybe one color, maybe two or three. Just simplify it. I think it's easier mentally as you go through something like this. Okay, so again, we're gonna just use my fingers, spread it out. Now obviously if you're on a different piece of paper, if you're not using smooth paper, this process can be cumbersome. Then I would suggest using a turpenoid, turpentine, mineral spirits, Gamsol, whatever you have available for it. Since it's oil pastel, it's compatible with those things. All right, and then we'll go back to the orange, because now I'm looking at here the top of the head and the rest of the body and kind of around the face, right? Just mostly kind of different shades of orange. So we'll just use again this one color, and we'll use this kind of reddish brown. On the white it looks really red, doesn't it? That's okay. It's definitely darker than what I'm gonna go over the top with. And then I'm paying attention to where those white areas are and not going to go over the areas that are white. Okay. Maybe a little orange or this reddish on top of that brown that's already there. You can see where the white areas are going to be. This coal I have is kind of annoying, but it's not in my sinuses, so that's actually good. If it was, I wouldn't be painting today, because then my eyes would just be stinging. But so far it's just been staying down in my throat. And hopefully it'll go away soon. And I apologize if I am jiggling the camera too much. I did ask you guys to leave me a comment on my snow leopard painting tutorial, if what view you like, whether you like the camera to be attached to my chest like it is now, or whether you like the camera to be on a stationary tripod like off to the side. And so if you watch that tutorial, you'll see that switch. And overwhelmingly people prefer the camera on the chest, and I kind of agree, because what you get when the camera is attached to my chest is you get better close-up of me touching the work with either the pastel or my fingers, and so you can see those details easier, in my opinion. If I was sitting down, then I would have a stationary camera kind of right up here, like you see on a lot of YouTube videos where most of those folks are probably sitting down at a desk or something, but I can't really work like that. I tried it, and I ended up just getting up, and I decided I'm just going to be a painter that just stands. So it's a little bit different, I guess, as far as the tutorial goes. And I have this harness attached to my chest. Okay, so I'm just spreading this color out. My goal here at this stage is, and you know this, I've said this a million times, cover the white of the paper up. That's really the goal here. Paying attention to where those different colors of orange, and kind of just making a guess and picking one or two colors to kind of do that first layer. All right. And I'll try not to make it jiggle so much when I move around here. All right, let's go down to this area to make sure all the paper has got color on it. And I always will choose a color that's typically darker than what the reference is showing, because I think, in my experience of doing this, it's easier to go dark, start dark, and then just get lighter from there. I find that much easier rather than trying to get in your darks later. And you'll see how I constantly am adjusting the darks and the values there as I go through it. Now the background here, let's look at the background here. Background is kind of this really blurred out kind of dark greens in the back, and so I might kind of go with that. I might actually add a little bit of a bluish tint to it to kind of be that nice complement to these orange colors in the cat. But I want to keep the same effect of it being blurry in the back. Alright, so kind of in the face, the muzzle here, I'm going to kind of come in a little bit more brown. And the rest of it's kind of this white color. Probably a light gray when I get to it. So you can still see the graphite drawing underneath all this, so I can know where things are. Okay, now let's go to this gray. You can see where I left the white there. I'm going to use the gray and just go over that. And let's see, try to find a somewhat clean finger here to kind of blend it, or spread it out a little bit. And you can see the drawing is still present underneath, so I haven't covered up where the eyes are going to go, right? I don't want to cover that up because I got a ways to go on this painting. We just started, so we have a ways to go. Okay. So where the white is, that's where I'm putting this gray, and there's a bunch of white down in this part of the muzzle, like right above the mouth, right in the face, interior of the face there. This is real easy on a smooth surface like that to just do this with my fingers. As you know, oil pastel is hard to blend. It is a tough medium to spread color with, right? One of the biggest hurdles is how to get around that. And so trying different surfaces, I've learned some different techniques, just trying different surfaces. And this Bristol Smooth, which they said it wouldn't work for oil pastels. If you look at the inside pamphlet, it says not suitable, not even mentioned that oil pastels could be suitable. Well, it is very suitable. Works great, actually. It's just, you have to have, I think it helps to have, definitely helps to have different consistencies of oil pastel to kind of get me through that. If I was using one brand, I would have to probably use a lot more fixative to get layers, to get colors to stack up on each other. Okay, so there's some white down in here, also on this side of the face. Right, here's the edge of the tiger. You can see I just kind of, all right, and we'll just go ahead and do the inside of the ear. Look at the inside of the ear. Kind of dark, but it's got these white little fuzzies on it. So we'll just use it gray for that. Why not? Just use it gray. And I'm just gonna know where the ear is. And just smear it, cover all that paper up. Alright, so the nose I'll leave alone. We'll just go over with the gray as well on the nose. Doesn't really matter. I'm gonna choose like these different pinks and stuff for the nose, but at least just cover the white of the paper. Alright, now we got the mouth down here, the chin. And I'm looking at that chin right here. You can see, yeah, it's just a bunch of grays, really. If you look at it closely, some dark grays in there. Black, the blackness of the lips. Right, that'll be the next step. Defining those the black areas like the inside of the nostrils, the markings around the eyes, the lips, right? But right now, cover up this paper up. And then the mouth, of course, will be real dark. So I'll probably do that in a black. And then leave the teeth white. Maybe I'll do a yellow for that. Key is at this stage is just to simplify the whole thing. So if you don't know where to start, just ask yourself, well, what is the main color underneath it all, and go a shade darker. Right. So I use a lot of grays and browns for this first stage. But I thought, let's try this rusty brown color for the base of the orange and see how that works out. I think it'll work out pretty fine. And at this stage, can't really make a lot of mistakes because I'm really just covering up the paper. Okay, as you can see, most of the tiger hair is covered up except for the mouth. We'll come back in later with some black or different for that. And up here in the ear, cover that up. All right. Okay. There's the reference, and you can see so far what I got. Okay, now, what about the background? I've left it white. Should I go ahead and put that in now? I could add some greens. I have some greens. Do have some blues. Let's why not? We're here. Why don't we just put some greens back in here? I'm sure it'll change. But let's go ahead. Again, I'm using the craypas, right? Craypas first layer. Right, take the papers off so you can use the whole stick. Much easier this way. Just kind of go around the contour edge of the tiger. And maybe we'll add some blues. I think with the orangeness of the cat, some blues in there will kind of help kind of bring out some nice complements to the orange there. And yeah, so the paper, you know, it is smooth, but like I said, I use that workable fixative, so there's kind of a gritty feel. Like I said, like a very, very light sandpaper, but not unpleasant at all. Like this doesn't bother my fingers. So get yourself some workable fixative to kind of, we can do the same thing here. Start with that drawing first, just a real basic drawing of it. You just got to know where things are, like basically where the eyes are, the nose, the mouth. That's most of it. Kind of where the ears are and stuff. Just kind of work on the face. And then you can kind of fill in the other parts of it. Alright. And then of course, start coloring it in. Today is Saturday, almost, well, it's a little past noon. So after this first layer, I will take a break, get something to eat, and then hopefully I can finish this today. Depends how I feel. I'm feeling good right now, but after some talking here, I might not want to talk all that much. And I might then take a break and maybe finish tomorrow or sometime during the week. I'm trying to be consistent with my job here since I'm working, you know, almost 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday. I'm trying to find those times when I can set aside and do some painting. Trying to stay consistent with that, so I don't want to stop painting. I actually need to keep doing it for my own mental health and because I enjoy it, and I miss it when I go long stretches without painting. Alright, so it's kind of coming down to my weekends and a little bit in the week, so every once in a while when I have the time and the energy mostly. Alright, I'm going to take a little water because my throat's a little dry. Okay. So you can see I left the mouth alone there. So if you look at the mouth, it's just really dark. You can see a little bit of the tongue or the inside of the mouth, but really it's just kind of black. So let's just grab a black craypas right here, and we'll just do that. I'm gonna go ahead and raise this up. Put these guys over here, and just put a little black in the mouth. Spread it out a little. Now the teeth are look at the teeth there. There's no real definitive line. It's kind of really vague on that, but somewhere in there there'll be teeth, excuse me. And then the lips here also just black or dark. So we'll just do that in there. Okay, somewhere in there, and it's the mouth in there, and then we will leave the teeth white. Maybe with the teeth, maybe I can go like with an ochre color, something like this, because those teeth are really yellow, right? Roughly, really yellow. So let's just do that. We'll just use this ochre. And then I'll use a pinky here to smear it around. Somewhere in there it'll be teeth. We'll get the details of it way later on in the painting. But I just need to put a color there where they're going to be roughly. Okay. So most of that paper, pretty much all of it, is all covered up. All right, now let's go ahead and continue with the black, and I'm starting to look at now kind of like, you see the lips, it did that, and the inside of the mouth, very dark. You see the inside, the nostrils there, right? We'll just use the black for that. You can see around the eyes, you know, there's these black markings around the eyes, both eyes there, right? And then up in the ears, you see it. Inside of the ear, you see it. Of course, the stripes, black stripes there. Okay, a lot of stripes, of course, on the tiger. Gotta get those in, right? But let's just start with the nose. So the nose, looking at it here, kind of comes up from the mouth, right? Comes up from the mouth, kind of like that. Let's just put that in, and then just follow it. Follow the nostril shape, and it kind of comes to the side, and then over here, and my nostrils, how they kind of go in like that, around the nose. Okay. And then they kind of go up on the side like that, right? And then around the eyes. So around the eyes, and I'm just going over this drawing that I did. I'm just going to take the black right around it. Leave no space for the color of the eyes, which will be kind of a pale yellow with some green mixed into it. But these dark markings around the eyes, we can just use this black for that. It kind of comes out like this, and then over here Again, kind of follow that drawing a little bit. And just follow the drawing. More or less, something like that. Might have made this eye a little bit bigger than that one, but we'll correct it. Maybe come in a little bit more. All right, and then to mix that in, or to kind of blend that out, I'm going to use a stump. So I have all these stumps here. Kind of grab one of these. Maybe I should grab a new one, because these are all, there's one. This one will probably be okay. It's got some other colors in there, but I think we'll be all right. It'll do the job, but I need something pointy to help me kind of color this in. So I kind of use it to spread it out, the color, rather than my finger. My finger might be a little bit too dull here. And when it comes to eyes, I really want to be precise, or as precise as I can be. So the stump here works to help spread that out and direct that color. And it kind of comes down, and then I can take my finger like that and spread it down. Kind of start spreading it where these other stripes are on the cat. Okay, the same thing on this side. Again, just using the stump helps control the color where you want it to go. And then spread it out. And take my finger, because it kind of comes down the sides of the face. If you look here, this area here, you can see the darkness. The stripes kind of come down and contour the muzzle, right? The muzzle. So you can see how that goes. Basically, I'm just going to kind of do the same thing, drag that color out. And the sides of the eyes, they go out. All right. Let's look at it. I think the eyes are pretty good. Eyes are very important. Very important. Take your time. All right, and let's continue with some of these stripes. So looking at the tiger, lots of stripes. Lots of design in the stripes, different shapes, different widths of it here, very thick, finer all around. All right, so let's just kind of take this black and we'll kind of work in those stripes. So I'm looking at my reference here, and where I see those dark stripes, I will just put in a little color. Okay, so right above the eye here, we have these two marks, and then it kind of comes up, right? And I can see the graphite underneath where I kind of mentioned those, and then we'll take the stump and spread it out. Spread it out. And with black and with really all colors, when you spread it out, it changes the value of the color, right? With the black, when you spread it out, it kind of turns to like a dark gray instead of just a black. All right, and other colors will change too. All right, so this kind of comes, and it really almost connects over here. Okay. And we'll continue around. So under here, there's a stripe that kind of contours the eye. Okay, and we have another one here. Got this weird little shape to it, but basically something like this. Doesn't have to be exact, but it's pretty close. And over here, a little thicker, and then it goes up, and there's like a thicker mark up there. And I'm looking at this right here. Marks around the eye. Marks around the eye. Okay. I knew with the tiger it'd be more challenging compared to the other cats because of all the stripes, right? And thinking about how am I going to do all these stripes? But just go slow. Helps to have the drawing underneath where you kind of indicated where they are, so I can kind of just go over that with this black and just kind of go over and then smear it and spread it out. There we go. All right, down in kind of the cheek area here, you can see that big one there I put, and we have another like that, almost looks like a little heart right here. Almost like a little heart. But that's kind of right there, and then you have a really big stripe, really thick, coming up to the side of the face there. See that one? Big thick stripe there. Right up to the side of the face. So that's got to be thicker. And then spread it out. Been into big cats. I did a Black Panther. I didn't do a tutorial on that one. I don't think I did. I have a lot of videos on my YouTube. I'm starting to forget if I did a tutorial on it or not. But I did a Black Panther. I think I've shown that one. And then of course the snow leopard, which you guys saw if you watched that one. That was my last tutorial. That was a fun one, mostly grays, variations of gray. And then of course the tiger today. Hopefully I can get it done today. And then after this, I think a lion, right? Why not? The king of the jungle. Got to do a lion, right? Of course the male lion is probably going to be fun with the mane. And I've done a lion before. It was a female lion. My mom has that in her collection. She likes lions. That's kind of her animal. And she likes the female lions, or even the males. Okay, look back to the reference. Looking at, so I kind of did that big one there, right? And that big stripe there. And I see how it comes all the way up, right underneath the ear, kind of connects to this here, which kind of comes up like this, all the way, something like that. Almost connects to that. Okay. Maybe I'll do a cheetah too. I like cheetahs. They have lots of stripes or spots. Maybe I'll do that. Drag that black out. Even if it's a little bit wider than what the reference is, just still drag out the color. Okay. Then up in here, up in the ear, I'm going to go ahead and bring this down a little, keep my camera on the work. In here it's real dark in the ear, so right in here, real dark in the ear, inner part of the ear, where all these fuzzies start popping out. But right inside here, right where that pastel is, you see the darkness of the ear right here. Okay, even into the ear right there. Just match the darks. There's some more stripes here, very faint ones coming down, but I see them. And spread it out. I'll spread it out with my finger on this one. tiger was one of my favorite animals growing up as a kid. I always thought the tiger was awesome, very majestic, powerful animal that could literally look through into your soul almost, the way they would gaze. I thought they were very cool. As I've gotten older, I think the dog now is my favorite animal. The dog, because I have dogs. All right, so around the ear itself, right, you can see a black lining around the ear itself. Okay, so we'll just use the black for that. It's real fuzzy, but we can put a little line there where the ear is going to be. Something like this, real rounded out ears. Okay, and then I can take a stump and soften that line a little bit. Make it a little fuzzy looking by just kind of dragging that out like this. Right, indicate that it's kind of a fuzzy line because it's, you know, almost covered in fur, something like that. Okay. All right, continue on. So got that ear mostly, and you can see the stripes going across the top of the head. Several stripes, like these big ones, that one, and then these smaller ones. So we'll go ahead and kind of match that. Kind of these bigger ones, and then these lines that go up. Right, so that's the bigger one, and then there's another bigger one right above it. It goes across, and then right here where the ear meets the top of the head, there's another stripe that goes across the head, and then there's even more back in here. This one goes all the way across, looks like. Okay, and then we have here, I see that one there. And then this one comes here. All right, let's take the stump to this and kind of spread these out a little. Spread out the stripes, the color, spread it out. And the top of that ear is kind of a bigger one. These are a little bit thinner as you go across the top of the head there. They thin out a little. All right, we're making progress. We are making progress. One stripe at a time. I thought this might be an overwhelming painting with all these stripes, but I don't know, you do one at a time and it all kind of turns out. Okay, now let's go to this ear. You can see the markings on it. You can see there's this white like triangle, right? It's the shape of a triangle there. You see that? And then you have the black all the way around that. So let's work on the black. So it's on the tip of the ear and goes down. And then there's a triangle. We'll leave the triangle where it's going to be. And it comes down here. Okay, and we'll fill that in. All right, and then the stripe. This stripe then continues down, and it gets really wide right here, like a bigger stripe there, right at the edge of the face there, right? Same as on the other side there. There's one here, goes down. Okay. Same like what was over here on this side. Goes right to the muzzle. So there's that. And let's go ahead and spread that around, see what that looks like. Notice when the ears, I kind of drag that color out to the edge to kind of get that fur, indication of hair, fur at the edges there. Kind of drag that out. Down here, widens out. And I'm also moving the color in a direction that the fur grows. So the fur, you know, the hair is growing out away from the face. So that's kind of the direction I blend it to, because that will, that does matter. You want to try to follow the way the hair grows as well. All right. Right to the muzzle. Okay. There we go. All right. We're getting through it. All right, now we're working on this side. So there's that big stripe, and then we have another one here, and it goes up there, and then, oops, down there. You can see lining the muzzle here. There is a stripe, but it kind of matches, same on this side, the shape of the muzzle of the cat. Okay, and then on this side of the face, there's this weird little shape here, and then comes up, another stripe right there, and then another one on side of it. Maybe take the stump for that one as I'm getting closer to the eye, a little bit more control. And then right below the eye, there's another one. Something like that, maybe. And actually, looking at it, there's another one that comes up from this shape, goes right into that area right there. Again, I'm just following these marks. You can see how these lines kind of contour the eye, right? Kind of go around it like that. Go around it. And here, we don't have to be exact here, right? It's just too nerve-wracking and cumbersome to even think you got to get the lines, the stripes just perfect. Otherwise, and the painting doesn't, it's not fun anymore when you have to be that precise, in my opinion. A little bit of vagueness, just in general, what you're seeing. You can always correct them as you're adding more color. Okay. Like I'll probably make some adjustments there on the thickness of those, but in general, that's kind of where they are. Let's see, over here I had that hard shape, and then we have another little squiggly line with something right there. Okay, in here, fill it out. And then around the top of the eye, let's see, we got that big one there. And we have another one underneath. Okay, looking at that. Right in between the eyes, you got those kind of stripes that kind of go up like this. Alright. No two stripes are alike on a tiger. I bet they're all different. Just like fingerprints for humans. I'm sure there's no exact stripes from cat to cat. They probably vary, I'm sure. Alright, and then let's see, we have this and it comes up. Alright. It's got these weird little shapes in there, but that's about right. And spread those out. Spread them out. Make corrections if you need to. There's a lot of these little things in here that I can see. They're very faint, but they're in there. And the hair seems to be growing, like around animals a lot. The hair always seems to kind of go out away from the eye, right? It always like will grow this way, and then it'll go like this all the way around the eye. Okay, that's something to keep in mind. Keep in mind how the hair patterns, and then just kind of follow that when you're doing this kind of step here where you're blending in the fur at the very first stage. Just keep that in your head. Try to follow those patterns. Blend it out the way it grows. Alright, so we got most of this face pretty knocked out. We'll make corrections as we go through it, but more or less, it's kind of where it's at. Okay, now let's move down the face. Let's get down into the mouth area. Let's look at that real quick. See those stripes that are going across? Right, you got 1, 2, 3, and then the mouth begins. 1, 2, 3, and then the mouth, darkness of the mouth begins. Okay, so I already did the nose. So that first stripe, so here's one that goes around the contour, kind of lines up with the top of that nostril and just kind of goes right out. And then we have another one that's underneath there. Right, and it seems to be thicker in the middle and kind of thins out towards the end. We have another one, and then kind of some more shaped. And then we have the actual muzzle, which I'm going to go ahead and put in with this dark also, just to let me know where it is. Okay, over here, if I follow over here we have one there. We have one comes right in like this, and then one that kind of curves, and then the out part of the muzzle goes around. Okay. And then this is all just very dark. Can't really see in the mouth all that well because it's just kind of dark and under here. I'm looking at like underneath those whiskers, right? Underneath the whiskers, it's really just dark. Same over here. You kind of lose where the mouth is a little bit. All right, and then in here, we have some more stripes. So let's take the stump here and just kind of spread these out a little. All right. Kind of where that is, and then it's just real dark under here where we kind of lose where the mouth is a little bit. Hard to see in the preference picture, but we'll just try to go with it. And so I have a little bit of, I've been blending with the stump, and it always leaves a little bit of the residue on the tip, and you can use that to actually draw in like the shape top part of the nose. You can kind of, it's always this V kind of right here, kind of this V looking shape, and then it kind of turns as it meets the side of the nostril there. So you can use that to actually draw, because if I look up the nose, you can see where it is. See these lines right there, and this one here starts to come out from the eye, corner of the eye, comes down, lines up with the edge of the nostril there, right? So you can take a little bit of black from somewhere else and just kind of use that, kind of draw that right in there. Okay. Same on this side here, kind of comes up right into the eye, and I can take some of this black here and use it to draw that in. All right. More or less, that's where those are going to be. As we go through this, we'll correct them to the right shape and everything. Okay, this is kind of the edge of that face. That's where that will be. Edge of the ear. So on my snow leopard tutorial, I talked about leaving the edges fuzzy and then tighter details on the interior face. Gonna try to similar tactic on this tiger. So you can see on the edges, it's just really blurred out. And then as we work on this, as we work on the interior of the face, it'll get tighter details, not so much blending on the interior part of the face. If that makes sense there, and that helps me get this illusion that the tiger is like kind of popping out of the painting. All right. Okay. Let's keep going. Looking at the chin now. Looking at that chin. See the darks in the chin there? See the little white hairs, but underneath the white hairs, you see the darkness of the chin, and you can see the black. The lips are black, but on the chin, it's also this kind of dark gray. So the lips are gonna kind of be like right around in there, right? But then the chin itself is also dark. So I'll just use this in my finger and we'll drag that out. Then we'll come in with some grays and kind of build out the chin a little bit better. But I kind of want to know where that mouth is. The lips are, kind of goes around the teeth. Right? And then just dark. Okay, and fill that in. That's where the lips are going to be. There's some little teeth in there. We'll get those in later. Here is where the big teeth are. Right in there. What's my time? We're at 54 minutes, so getting close to a break. I'll finish the stripes out, and then I'm going to take a lunch. All right, let's do the body. So let's see. So down here, got these big stripes here. Here's one. And already you can see where that graphite is, so I'll just mark that over, and then over here, part of the body. This guy goes all the way up there, and then we have a dark coming from out of the ear. Oops, I gotta bring this down so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, and then above the head we have some more. Kind of comes up. Okay, something like that maybe. And then here's that part that goes out a little. Okay. Down under here, there's a little stripe I can see. Okay. And then I'll just use my finger and broadly push that in, spread it out. My watch says time to stand. Siri, or whatever this is, doesn't really know sometimes. I've been standing this whole time. Okay. Big stripe there. I can see the hair, is growing like away from the face, so I'm going to try to blend it out that way as well. Not bad for a first layer, right? You can get a lot done with the craypas. Right? People ask, well, what's a good set to start off with when you're a beginner? I say, get a couple. Go with a basic craypas expressionist. Get your hard oil pastels. Get some sens. Build your own little oil pastel set. You don't have to stick with one brand. Right? So much easier when you can mix them up like this. So think about that. Craypas expressionist set, pretty cheap. Get some sens, get a white sen, get a black sen, get some grays, get different colors in there. Maybe get yourself a neo pastel set, which I think is one of my favorite brands overall. I would mention Mungio, and they're not bad, but it's just hard to get replacement sticks with the Mungio. Hard to replace those colors when you run out of them. You end up having to buy a whole new set, which doesn't really work out economically for me. So, I used to be able to. And then 2020 came around, and then that's no longer possible. All right, so yeah, get some different sets. Play around. Definitely something hard like a craypas or pastels or something that has a harder consistency, and then go with something a little softer on top of that. Like you could do a lot with craypas and neo pastels. Neo pastels are nice and soft, and then maybe get like the Sen white and the Sen black, because those are the two best whites and blacks you can get, or a 007, which is like a dark blue. All right, we are good for first layer. Looking pretty awesome. Here's my reference again. Okay, you see it there. Great picture. Here is the painting. You can see where we're going with it. Pretty much the stripes are in there for the most part. All right, and we'll fine tune those as we go through this. But the basics are there. All right. And of course, this is a dirty job, but that's what's the fun part about it. So I am going to take a break, get something to eat, stop talking so my throat gets a break. Okay. So far, we've just been using these craypas. That's it. That's what we got there. All right. So with that being said, don't want to drop that. I'm going to clean my hands with the wipey and make myself a little lunch, and then I'll be back. I try to keep these segments to about an hour long. That way it's, I don't know, probably easier to get through. When I look at my YouTube average watch duration, it's like 7-8 minutes, so very few people are actually watching these whole things. If you're one of those people, hats off to you. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it, actually. Hope it helps in some way. Even if you get just one little tip, helps you out in some fashion. All right. Okay, I am going to take a break. I'll be back.